Carrion is a reverse horror indie game where you play as a multi-mouthed tentacled monster attempting to escape a science facility. They call it reverse horror because you're the villain, but it's more in lines with kind of a diet metroid-vania sort of a game. They're not that complex, the power-ups you get, but you do get them, and that allows you to access different areas, and you have more of these puzzles and how the regions are split up. It's more like that. It's available on all the platforms, but you can get it through Gamepass on both the Xbox One console as well as Microsoft Windows. You break free from a containment unit as this monster creature. At first you are small in size, but then over time you build up. But there's not much for story really here. That's it when you start out. Instead, the direction that they've gone with is periodically throughout the game, you can go inside these facilities, and then from here it takes you to a flashback playing as one of the human scientists who's going around, and you come about to find how they discovered this monster and what they did to contain it. That's pretty much it. The game is going for gameplay oriented in the mechanics of how you control the creature, his abilities, puzzles, but for story it's basically just you escaping. So they don't need really much more than this. It's sufficient. Even though it is an indie game with more basic graphics, it still is pretty violent, especially with the sound effects. As you're grabbing humans and eating them, they get dismembered, you hear these screams, and since you're playing the monster for the majority of the game, you're going to get a decent amount of this, so be forewarned going in. The game can be separated into two parts, basically. You have the combat, and it's not too difficult. You have different abilities as your monster upgrades, and there are areas that you can kind of sneak past, and then you use these tentacles. You start off with one, and then you get more where you're able to grab the humans, and then they're basically dead from that point once you get like through whatever armor that they may have, or if they're in a machine. The creature upgrades, you can see the health bar in the top, and then as you add more, the health bar increases. The sort of diet metroid-vania part becomes more clear with the save points. Here you kind of spread, you infest this area, and what this does is a few things. You can save, which that's always what it does, travel to another point on the map, or you are completing a multi-checkpoint to progress to the next area. You'll infest one of the spots, and then it'll show the big door that you have to get to, and it'll take out one of those. So for instance, that one has 3. I got 2 of 3. Once you do that, then you have the next big door that you were able to go through to take you to the next region. And this affects the combat. You have abilities to, as you get farther into the game, but since there are a decent amount of checkpoints, even the handful of times where it happened to me that I died, I'm able to start from a checkpoint that isn't terribly far back, and the game isn't that long overall either. For the combat as well as the puzzle aspects, you have the canisters that you have to break open, and this gives you a new ability. Some of these are just purely for combat or to make it easier. That's why there is extra content in the game. And others are to get past a particular section. For instance, there's a web ability that you can grab onto a lever, but you have to be a certain size. So here I'm dumping part of my mass into this pool of water. They have these throughout different regions. Then I'm able to have different abilities. Another one is you can be invisible, or you have this extra arm, but I won't spoil too much of it. And that is more the challenge in the game, is figuring out these puzzles. And they know that this is kind of the strong part, I think, too, because the most fun really is moving around as the creature. As for the combat, the tentacle grabbing thing, it doesn't work too well. It's okay. It's more the pounce, when you pounce on them, or using one of the abilities rather than direct confrontation and combat. And this works fine. I had the most fun with the abilities, moving around, going to different areas, and the puzzles are okay. It's a short enough game where it's not going to bother you, but by the end, I would say the combat gets more stale with the limitation in the types of enemies and abilities. This one is an easy recommend for Gamepass on either the Xbox One console or PC. It's $20 otherwise, and just the way that people are going to be playing this, whether they're checking it out or have been looking forward to it, wanting to play it, you might as well play it through Gamepass because you're looking at 1, 2, max 3 sittings to play it. And even if you're looking to do more, it doesn't take that long, just a few hours extra to check out the other content. Also, the majority of the fun is traversing, kind of going around the map as the monster and having the abilities. The combat's a little bit fun too. It is pretty violent, but it is an interesting idea, like to have this type of monster. Just again, if you are looking just to play a casual video game, just be warned, it is violent. If you like this video, please give a like. You disliked it, give it a dislike. You really liked it, please subscribe, and I will see you next time.